I'm Mr. Atkins, and you're not. Lucky you. Just kidding. Hi, hello. Welcome to Civics class. It's week 6 and week 7 combined. Yeah. Let's take a look at things, yeah? Shall we? Okay. First off, here's the month of May, the last day of the school year. Is this bag behind me? It's a Publix bag. Okay, all right. It was bothering me. Sorry. Okay, so today, here we go. Oh, there we go. Week 6 starts right here on May 4th. See the calendar, guys? Do you see it? Okay, great. All right, so we're going to start our week 6 work here. You should be done with the week 6 part by the 8th of May. It's Mother's Day this weekend. Next week is week 7. Week 6 and 7 is combined into one thing, so you're taking one quiz for both weeks. And that's due May 15th right here, okay? The next week, the week of the 18th, there will not be a week 8 lesson plan with a video and a quiz and all that stuff. There may be some other things, but there will not be a quiz that you got to take or a whole bunch of work that you got to do. The week of the 18th to the 22nd, week 8, will be catch up on any of the things you missed from weeks 1 through 7. All right? And then the next week, after week 8, is week 9, and that is a 4-day week. No school on Monday. I mean, whatever, right? But the 26th, 27th, 28th, 20th, those are the last days of school. Normally we'd be taking final exams and all that stuff, but that ain't happening. So you continue to finish your old work, make sure you got everything turned in to all your teachers these last 2 weeks. Still check in at least once a week, if not once every few days during those last couple weeks, just for attendance purposes, okay? But that's it. I did not want to do new lessons all the way up to the last week of school because that's not how I do it in class anyway, right? It doesn't make any sense. So I wanted to make sure you had enough time to get your stuff done for my class and for other people's classes. So I love you. You're welcome. Enough of the calendar. Let's close that up. Don't forget Cinco de Mayo tomorrow. If you're watching this on the 4th anyway. If you're watching this after May 5th, 2020, I hope it was good. Did you know it's not even like a holiday in Mexico? It's a holiday, but they don't really like celebrate it like that. It's not really their like real Independence Day. Anyway, whatever. Here we go. You should be looking at the PDF that you downloaded from one of 5 different places. Focus, 2 places in Focus, Teams, your Outlook account, Edmodo. I forget what the last one is. Yeah, I don't remember. Anyway, it's around. Hopefully you're looking at it while you go through this. You're going to need it. You're going to need it. You're going to need it to see what I'm showing you. I guess you could just watch the video, but it's not the same. So week 6 and 7 starts May 4th, 2020, is due May 15th, 2020. It's 2 weeks of information. And yes, looking at this, it is remediation. It's a review. So what I did was, and it says it right here, I picked the 2 topics that had the lowest overall quiz grades for the year and wanted to give everyone another chance to learn it again. So those happen to be the John Locke lesson and the Baron de Montesquieu lesson. They happen to be the 2 that everybody overall quiz grades were the worst. Okay, the lowest on Edmodo. So that doesn't mean you failed it. It just means a lot of people didn't do great on it. Overall, my classes didn't learn it well, so we're going to go through it again. So if you did great the first time, still make sure you're paying attention because you can go deeper on your info that you know, and it could click a little more with other stuff that we've learned later in the year. It'll make more sense now because you've studied most of the year of civics with me. But if you didn't do great on it, here's your chance to actually get it. Maybe it'll click this time. You're older. You've learned more about civics. These were towards the beginning of the year, so maybe you struggled back then. Maybe things got better for you in my class as things went on. And for most of you, that's actually true. Whether you started off great or you didn't, things got better. You improved. Even if you were already awesome, you still improved. Most of you. Almost all of you. Anyway, learning goals. Students will be able to 2 things. Number 1, identify and describe Enlightenment ideas. And I listed them out. Separation of powers, natural rights, social contract. You need to be able to identify those, say, oh yeah, that's a social contract, or yeah, that's a separation of powers. You also have to be able to describe them. Hey, what exactly are natural rights? How exactly does separation of powers work, and why do we do it? Things like that, okay? And then students will be able to examine how Locke and Montesquieu influenced America's founding fathers. So you need to know who the founding fathers were. What does that mean? Who's Locke? Who's Montesquieu? And how are they different? Because you don't want to mix them up. And that's really kind of the hardest thing for all this, is mixing them up. Okay, so, and then I got the scale here. You check yourself as you go. Same thing, you'll have a quiz in Edmodo for those of you that have internet access, which is, if you're watching this, that's you, right? Because all you got to do is get to Edmodo to get to the quiz. If you are not watching this and you're just doing this on paper, you can't hear me, so why am I even bringing it up? I don't know. I don't even know. Let's move on. Remember, all of this is going to be on one quiz. It's like 20 questions long or something like that. So, yeah, take your time. I expect it to take 2 weeks. If you want to do it all in a few days, you can. All right? But don't overdo it, because I know you got your other classes. Okay, I'm on page 1 of the PDF. Big number 1 in the top right. Okay? So here's your Bellwork. That's right, it's the beginning of class. And some of these questions will seem familiar. See what you can remember. Pause the video. And check your answer on the answer key at the end of the PDF, okay? So beginning of part 1, week 6. Write down your answers wherever you can. You don't have to do it on the PDF or type it or whatever. You can just do it on a random piece of paper. Do it on a napkin. Get your baby brother and use a Sharpie right on his back. No, don't do that. Just kidding. Don't do that. All right, so question 1, what is anarchy? You should know. If you don't, think about it. Break the word down. How is it different from monarchy? That one you almost certainly know. How is it different from oligarchy? You should remember these things, but if you don't, you may have to pause, think through, maybe check your notes if you have your notebook, or go look it up. How are they different? Okay, so you write that one down. Answers are in the answer key at the end of the PDF. All right, number 2, only 8.6 of American adults have been convicted of a felony crime. Again, like I said back in September or whatever when we studied this, I thought that number would have been higher. I thought 20, 30% easily. But no, it's less than 10% of the American adults go out, commit crimes and everything. So, man, most people follow the law. At least the big ones, anyway, right? Maybe not everybody's following the speed limit perfectly. But they're not like murdering people, stealing. Like, no, they're not doing that stuff. It's a small group of people that seem to do it, even though it's illegal and they get punished when they get caught. So that's interesting. Why is it like that? Why do most people follow laws? Okay. And then number 3, what does it mean to be an influence? If we say like John Locke and Montesquieu were influences on the founding fathers, we want to be able to describe what that means. So make sure you can describe what an influence is. And then number 4, just based on the name, what do you think self-government means? All right, so break that down. If we're doing self-government, what does that mean? And then you want to check your answers on the answer key at the end of the PDF, okay? So you got that. Pause the video. Remember, you're supposed to be doing this over the course of 1 week. So you don't have to watch all this and do all this now. Pause it. Now. You didn't pause it. Why didn't you pause it? Oh, you did pause it. Okay, you paused it, but you didn't. All right. Page 2. The next thing you need to do in the PDF, there are 3 sheets about John Locke is the next thing that comes out in that PDF. All right, and I showed you pictures of him down here. It's a reading on him, and then it's a graphic organizer on just him for the reading. Okay, so these first 2 go together. Take your time on this. Read through it at least, but you should jot your answers down. You don't have to like write in complete sentences like it says. You're not turning this in, okay? But gather your thoughts, refresh your memory. There's totally a mosquito around here. I saw it on the screen. Nah, dang. Oh, there she is. Come on. Yes. Y'all. You see that? I got it. She thought she was slick. Mr. Atkins won. Mosquito, like 50. But okay, but I got 1 now. Okay. All right. So anyway, the third sheet about John Locke. It's John Locke and the Declaration of Independence, which we have already studied, right? And hopefully you have a copy, or you can go find a copy. Yeah. So, our ultimate goal, like it says up here, learn what ideas Locke had back in the 1600s and connect them to ideas that Thomas Jefferson had in 1776. So connect those two things together and then take that information from 1776 that Thomas Jefferson did and figure out how does that connect to us right now, like literally right now. All right, how do those things still impact us today? So what we want to be able to do is trace John Locke's ideas from the 1600s up to right now through Thomas Jefferson. Okay, so that's kind of what we're doing here with the third sheet. We take Thomas Jefferson's words on the left, okay, which is from the Declaration of Independence, summarize it here, and then explain how that connects to John Locke's ideas from the 1600s. And then do that each time, okay? And then explain, like, how does that impact us now? How did that impact the Founding Fathers? Thomas Jefferson. And then how did that impact... And it wasn't just Jefferson, right? All the Founding Fathers agreed on this stuff. That's why they all signed it. But he kind of wrote it. He put it all together. And everybody was like, this is great, man. You did awesome. Because they all kind of had the same thoughts. They had also read John Locke or learned about him, right? Just like you did. Okay, you really do need to pause the video and go actually do that before we continue, because I'm not going to talk a lot about it. The answers are in the answer key at the end, okay? Sample answers. They don't have to be perfect, but you need to come close, okay? I'm not going to really go over it much. Okay? So pause it and go do it. I'll see you next time. Just kidding. I'm continuing. Page 3. All right, see if you can answer the following questions without looking at your notes. Write them down or type them up somewhere, okay? This is a recap for the assignment you just did. You should have just paused and gone and at least read through what the John Locke stuff is asking you to do. Hopefully written a few things down just to gather your thoughts. Because sometimes it's one of those things where it's like, I know it, I just can't explain it. Well, then you don't know it. If you truly know something, you can somehow communicate it to another human being. Otherwise, what's the point? Isn't the point of all this stuff just to be able to communicate better with people? Yeah. You and I are more likely to get the things we need if we're able to communicate better, right? So practice. All right. You're probably more likely to get a better job if you're able to communicate better with people. You're probably more likely to have somebody stop hurting your feelings if you can communicate the fact and you can communicate to them well that your feelings have been hurt. It's not always going to help, but sometimes it will. A lot of times it will. Okay? If you can make someone see your point of view, you're more likely to get your point across. Even if they don't agree, right? You don't have to agree, but you have to be able to communicate. So anyway, what are natural rights? You should be able to know, especially if you did the John Locke thing. What is the purpose of government? You should not be able to look at your notes and do this. You should be able to do this off the top of your head. What is the purpose of government? What is it supposed to be doing? Another way I've asked this in class is, what is the government's main job? There's one main job. What is it? All right. Number 3, what is social contract? How does that work? If you did the John Locke reading and stuff, you should know. Now, this next part, number 4, take number 2 and number 3 and put them together. How are those two ideas connected? If we know the government's purpose is this one thing, and we know that social contract works this way, then how are those two things connected? Explain the connection there. Try to think of cause and effect. Try to think in opposites, which is what I always like to do. Okay, if we know that this works like this, well, what would happen if it was the opposite? What would happen if it didn't work that way? What would happen if we didn't have that? Think about it like that, okay? Answers are in the answer key. Wait, there's more questions. It's not just 4. It's not just 4. Remember, this is a 2-week lesson. That's right. There's 11. Yeah. Based on what you've learned so far this week, who do you think the Founding Fathers were? Just a description. I'm not looking for names of people, although you can give an example or two. I'm looking for a description of how would you know if someone was a Founding Father? If that person was what? Okay. Number 6, how does social contract work in your personal life right now? Number 7, why do we need a government if we all agree to social contract, or we all agree to follow the law or whatever? Like, why do we even need a government if we agree not to mess with each other? Number 8, It really helps if you have a copy of the Declaration of Independence for number 8. Where does every good government get its power? So read the paragraph that says, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Okay, keep reading, right? Where does every good government get its power? According to John Locke and Thomas Jefferson, who wrote the Declaration. Okay, so then number 9, if good governments get their power from that place that you hopefully paused and went and found the answer to, number 9, where would a bad government get its power from? Good governments get their power from here. Bad governments get their power from where? And my video paused. Where do good governments get their power? So then where do bad governments get their power? Number 9. Number 10. How have John Locke, and this is kind of a big summary here. John Locke's ideas came from the 1600s because that's when he was alive. How did they impact us in the right now? How do we still see his influence on us right now? Okay. Number 11. Look at the text of this thing called the Mayflower Compact, or the Mayflower Contract, or the Mayflower Treaty, or the Mayflower Agreement, written in 1620 by the Pilgrims, the people from Thanksgiving. The Mayflower Compact, aka a treaty or an agreement, is a real-life example of one of the concepts we've studied this week. Read the excerpt and decide which concept is the best example of. Now, I'm going to read it out loud to you just because it helps to have somebody do that. Okay? So here we go. Having undertaken for the glory of God and advancement of the Christian faith, in honor of our king and country, a voyage to plant the first colony in the northern parts of Virginia, do by these present solemnly and mutually, in the presence of God and one of another, covenant and combine ourselves together into a civil body politic, for our better ordering and preservation and furtherance of the ends aforesaid, and by virtue hereof to enact, constitute, and frame such just and equal laws, ordinances, acts, constitutions, and offices from time to time, as shall be thought most meet and convenient for the general good of the colony, unto which we promise all due submission and obedience. In witness whereof we have hereunder subscribed our names. ... And then they wrote all their names. There's one specific line in there, I'm not going to tell you which one it is, that explains one of the concepts we mentioned earlier in the PDF, earlier in the video. Okay? Which one would it be? What do you think? And then you can check your answers on the answer key in the back of the PDF. That's the homework recap assignment. Pause. Please go do all of those. If you need to hear me explain it again, back the video up. Hit that -10, -10. Tap the left, tap the left, tap the left. Continuing. All right, so that is the end of part 1. Okay? It's the end of the John Locke section. If you made it this far and you've already done all that stuff I just went through in the video, you've done enough work for week 6. Okay? You can go through and do week 7 if you have time, but if you've got other classes to do, please go do those, especially if you're behind on some of those other classes. All right? I don't want you to be rushing the last week of school or continue working into June. I don't want that for you. Okay? So don't overdo it. Do the hard class. If there's another class that you're like, that's the hard class, I don't want to do it. No, go do it. I'm telling you. Get it out of the way. You'll feel so much better once it's done. You really will. Okay? Then you can come back and do this class. Hopefully this is a little easier for you than some of your other classes. Might not be. This might be still really difficult for you. And I understand that. It is a lot of work. Okay? All right. Use the next few pages of the PDF to check your answers. Your answers don't have to match up to mine, but if your answer was very different, you may want to update your notes so you can be ready for the quiz. Don't take the quiz yet. You have to get through week 6 and week 7 and then take the quiz. All right? It's a double quiz all at once. Work through the rest of the PDF next week before you attempt the quiz. And remember, I don't grade the Bellwork, the classwork, the homework, the graphic organizers, none of that stuff. Just the quiz. I don't grade the recap questions, none of that. You can do it and send it to me, and I'll be like, good job. If you did a good job. If you did a bad job, I'll be like, good thing I wasn't grading it. But anyway, I won't grade it. I'll grade the quiz. But if you're going to do it, you might as well do a good job, right? Okay? PDF, if you scroll through, there are the big things, the PDF versions. All right, there's the questions. And then look at this. Ooh, this is secret. Look, the answers. I'm scrolling through. Maybe you see them. Page 1, my answers are underlined. Ooh, someone just went and paused it. Oop, nope. The video's probably not that high quality. All right, here we go. That was the end of part 6. Now we are moving on to part 7. Okay? All right, page 6 of the PDF. Big number 6 in the top right. Beginning of part 2, week 7. This is the Montesquieu part, okay? So if you can pause the video and come back to it. In fact, you should. If you're following the timeline, you completed part 1, the week 6 part, last week, and you're beginning part 2, the week 7 part, the following week. So hey, I hope your week was great. It's still the same day for me, but whatever. Some of you may have decided to go ahead and do part 2 during week 6. That's fine. Like I said, don't stress yourself out. All right, you got other classes to do, and this is not due until May 15th, 2020. Do a good job, not a fast job. Just because you put some words down doesn't mean you got the point across. I'm trying to communicate stuff to you. Are you trying to communicate stuff back to me? You should be. All right, remember, I'm only counting the quizzes. Unless you're one of the students who has no internet access and can't take quizzes, then of course you want to follow the instructions on the assessment page in this PDF. But if that's you, how are you watching this video? If you can watch this video, you can log into Edmodo. You don't have to do the writing assignment at the end if you can take the quiz. All right? And if you don't do well on the quiz, email me and you can redo it. And you can use your notes. All right, here we go. So here's the Bellwork for week 2. Write down your answers wherever you can. Okay, so we got 2 questions. Question 1, what do you think the phrase rule of law means? We talked about that in class. Another way to think about it, what's the rule about laws? You should know. If not, stop and think about it. What is the rule about laws? Number 2, how do you think the phrase limited government, what do you think the phrase limited government means? How would citizens create a limited government? If you think about what it means to have a limited government, how would citizens make that happen? That's what we want to look at, okay? And that's where Montesquieu comes in. All right, read through and work on the 2 sheets about Baron de Montesquieu. Yes, be impressed. I can spell his name without looking. Here, watch. Let's see. Text edit. Wait, will it open? It did open. I don't know what's going on there. Okay, you ready? Montesquieu. Montesquieu. Oh, look at that. Even the autocorrect popped up and was like, that's how you spell it, because it thought I couldn't do it. I did it. Autocorrect. I don't need you. His name is not Mosquito. I killed that earlier. Week 6. Way back then. Goal for this part, for week 7. Learn what ideas Montesquieu had back in the 1600s. Although he didn't know John Locke, they were from different places and different times slightly, but still 1600s. Connect them to the ideas that James Madison, a different person, had in 1787, which still impact us today. But how do they impact us today? Okay, so pause the video. Go do those 2 things with Montesquieu. Make sure you're keeping his ideas separate from John Locke's ideas. Next. Homework recap. If you just went and did that Baron de Montesquieu thing and you wrote some answers down, let's recap some stuff. If you did it properly or you know this information, you should be able to do these recap questions without looking at the notes. Practice. I'm not saying you could totally cheat. You could. I would never know. But I'm telling you, if you want to treat it like I'm your coach and you want to get better at something, here's how you get better. You should be able to right now answer these, or at least give a little bit of detail without looking at notes. Practice it first, and if you can't, then go back and check your notes and then try again later. Okay, that's how you get good at stuff like this. Treat it just like trying to get good at free throws. Practice a little bit, take a break, have someone check you, check your form. Don't just sit there doing it the wrong way every time, right? You gotta do it right. You gotta practice doing it right. My chorus kids, Miss Prescott says, like, do it slowly, but do it right. If you have to slow down to do it right, slow down. You'll speed up as you get better. Okay. All right, number 1. What's the difference between separation of powers and checks and balances? You should know. You should be able to explain that. They're different. They're connected, but they are not the same thing. How can you describe it so people would understand the difference between them? Imagine you are more educated in this stuff than some of the adults that live in your neighborhood. If they asked you, hey, what? I never learned that in school. Teach it to me. Like, you should be able to explain the difference. Now, don't go around and be like, I'm more educated than you, because no one likes that. But you get the idea. Some people never had a chance to take civics. So you may be the only person in their life that can explain this stuff to them. Okay. Number 2, what does James Madison have to do with this lesson? Check the reading if you need help. Number 3, what does the government need in order to do its main job? And you should know what that is from week 6. You should really know what that is from like August. Whatever. At least you know it now. If you don't know it now, go know it. Number 4, if you got the right answer to number 3, what happens if a government gets too much of it? You know, the thing from number 3. What does the government need in order to do its main job? What happens if a government gets too much of it? Whatever that thing might be. What happens if a government doesn't have enough of it? What would it be? What could the problems be? It only works if you know what the it is. You can check your answers. You guys know this is a microphone, right? Another mosquito. Nothing. Mosquitoes 52, Mr. Atkins 1. Just 1. Page 10 in the PDF. There is a reading on checks and balances. Okay, it's right here, but it's also in the PDF. Use the reading in the chart to see how the framers of the Constitution, the builders of the Constitution, headed up by James Madison, used Montesquieu's ideas that you should have gotten from the reading to set up the government that we still use today. All right, make sure you can give examples of how each branch can keep the other two in check. All right, so checks and balances, different from separation of powers. Here's a whole reading on the checks and balances part. Assessing what you've learned. Okay, if you have really done all that work and you could answer those questions, those recap questions for week 6 and week 7 successfully, you're pretty good to go for the quiz. Have your notes with you, have the readings with you, and you're good. Okay? You can go take it now if that was you. If you're shaky, stick around. Okay? If you're like, man, I don't know. I still don't really get it. All right, stick around. Okay? And then, of course, go take the Edmodo quiz. And if you don't do well on it, as in if you don't get at least 60% of the questions correct, you can email me. I'll delete it. You do it again. Okay? End of the lesson. This is the end of both week 6 and 7 combined, unless you are feeling if you're feeling shaky on it, if you're not feeling confident about it. Stick around. Video will be a little bit longer, but if you're like, yep, I got this, I don't need any more help, you're good. Go. You did it all. Before you complete the assessment, though, use the next few pages of the PDF to check your answers for part 2. They don't have to be exactly the same as mine, but if your answer was very different, you may want to update your notes. Don't take the quiz until you have done both week 6 and week 7. All right? Oh, here's some diagrams that I put in here, okay? So Locke's influence versus Montesquieu's influence. All right, so here is where we start like you needed a little more help just to make sure you were on the right page. Okay, so here we go. This is in your notes as well in the PDF. See if I can scroll down to it. Yeah, there it is. It's a little bigger right here, though. So anyway, you can look at this on your own page in the PDF if you have it pulled up on another screen or printed out or whatever on your phone. All right, John Locke. His influence went through Thomas Jefferson, and Thomas Jefferson wrote the Declaration of Independence in 1776. Montesquieu, totally different person, had totally different ideas, even though they're connected. Locke and Montesquieu, Locke was from England, Montesquieu was from France. I don't think they knew each other. I don't know if they were alive at the same time. They might have had a little overlap, but one may have been really old while the other was just being born or something like that. But anyway, Montesquieu influenced James Madison when Madison was writing the Constitution of the Constitutional Convention in 1789, really 1787. But that was when we got rid of the Articles of Confederation. Remember that? Because it was weak. Didn't have enough power to protect the citizens' rights. You should remember that. So we had to make a brand new Constitution, and then they had to get it ratified. Remember? And they had the Federalists versus Anti-Federalists who were like, we won't ratify it unless you add something to it. Do you remember what it was? The Bill of Rights. We also used a few of their ideas in the Bill of Rights, John Locke's and Montesquieu's. Anyway, So that's how you can kind of keep them separate in your head. John Locke influenced Thomas Jefferson in the Declaration of Independence when we broke away from England. Montesquieu influenced James Madison in the U.S. Constitution when we had to rewrite and redesign our own government that we had created. Because the first time we did it, we did not do a great job. Okay? All right, next, in this other diagram, here's how the USA has set up separation of powers and some examples of checks and balances. So using Montesquieu's ideas right here, Madison said, why don't we have a 3-branch government? Because there's 3 powers. Power number 1 is make the laws. Power number 2 is execute or enforce the law, right? To make the law happen. And number 3 is to interpret the law, to explain when the law applies and when the law doesn't apply. So they have that law. I'll just give you an example of interpreting just to make sure. They passed that law in Florida, no texting and driving, right? Okay, so that's good. What counts as texting? People are already asking that question. Does it count if I'm just holding my phone in my hand, but I'm not looking at it? Does it count if I do text-to-speech? If I use Siri, does that count? What if it's not in my hands, but it's like on a little like holder up on my dashboard? Does that count? What if I have earbuds in or AirPods? What if I'm not texting, but I'm just like tapping a game? Does that count? What if I can just tap the game without even looking and still play? What if I'm just changing the song on my phone? All the courts are supposed to do is look at the situation, look at the way the law is written, and say, yes, that counts, or no, that doesn't. All right, that's what they do. That is what interpreting laws means. Okay. And then I put at the very bottom here examples of some of the checks and balances. So Congress has the power to impeach and remove the other 2 branches, people from the other 2 branches. The president got impeached, did not get removed because the Senate did not want him to. They voted not to. They have impeached and removed some judges before. All right, so that's interesting, but not anytime lately, I don't think. The president has the power to veto bills made by Congress. Congress can make a law, but the president can veto them. Remember? Deny them. Be like, no, I don't like that law. Yes, they can override, but it's very difficult. Right? We talked about that. All right. Supreme Court gets to review everything that the legislative branch and the executive branch does if a citizen complains about it. If a citizen's like, hey, I don't think the way the president's doing his job is very fair. Can you check that specific thing? I think it violates the Constitution. Or I think that law Congress has passed goes against the Constitution. Can you check it? And they would do that. They can review and say, yes, you're right, that should not exist. And they can tell Congress and president, you're not allowed to do that anymore. And then none of us would have to obey that unconstitutional thing. Okay? Kind of nice. All right, let me look through a couple other things here. I wanted to go back to the recap questions if you had questions about the recap questions. Yes. Oh, here we go. Okay, back to the page 7. So, actually, no, that's not what I want to do. I want to go the answers for the John Locke part. All right, so here we go. We're going to talk about the answers to the John Locke part. My answers are underlined. I just want to make sure I hit them really quick, even though it's written down. What is anarchy? No government, right? Monarchy is when one person has complete control and it comes through their birthright, right? Oligarchy is when a few people has complete control. A few people have complete control together, right? Like a military group, or if a group of corporations were suddenly to get the most power and everybody had to listen to them because they didn't have an option, stuff like that. All right, why do most people follow laws? There's 2 main reasons. According to John Locke, we're all kind of born with a natural law inside us. We know when things are wrong. That's why babies cry when you take stuff from them. They know it's wrong. They don't like it. It's wrong to take. And we know that. But we tell ourselves why it's okay this time. It's okay because he'll never miss it. Or it's okay because I really want it. Or it's okay because I'll put it back. Or it's okay, I need it more than he does. Okay, but you know it's wrong. That's why you're having to sit there and convince yourself it's okay. All right, so anyway, everybody knows that these things are incorrect. Life, liberty, and property. You shouldn't mess with that. No one should mess with yours. And we kind of know that. To mess with someone else, we know we wouldn't want it done to us. So we kind of get that. And so most people just kind of leave each other alone, mostly, at least on the big stuff. Number two, though, for those other people who are like, I don't care about other people. All right, fine. Well, we got laws for you. If you break those laws, you'll get punished. I don't care if I get punished. Well, okay, fine then. We'll just punish you and get you out of the way, and then we won't have to deal with you. Nah. Ooh, bip. Potato chip. Stick your head in doo-doo dip. Doo-doo. Number 4, just based on the name, what do you think self-government means? Answers will vary, but the idea of self-government is that since you are a human who is born with rights, emotions, thoughts, and desires, no one, not even a government, should be allowed to take your rights away and tell you what to do. Doesn't that sound nice? You should be able to govern yourself. Rule yourself instead of having another person or group of people rule over you. You are worth it, my friend. However, you should not be able to rule yourself and stop someone else from ruling themselves, right? You can't take away someone else's rights. So there should be limits. But not everybody follows those limits. All right, here's the other thing it means. Self-government means a group of people should be able to rule itself. If we all decide to live in a community together, we should be able to rule ourselves without some king forcing us to do stuff. Because the king is just another human. Why does the king get to tell us what to do? We're all just humans. Well, but he's special. He was born into that family. He's rich. So what? It doesn't matter. If you trace it back far enough, at some point his family wasn't rich. All right, so it doesn't matter. It's just made up. That power is just made up. We allow the power to be taken by other people. Okay, so if we allow it, we can also work on taking it away. Unless we've let them get too powerful, and then that's going to be tough. Okay. Typically, though, when people talk about the idea of self-government, we mean the second thing, where a group should be able to rule itself instead of having some outside source or king or government make our decisions for us and force us to do things that we as a group don't want to do. We should be able to choose as a group. The next page, what are natural rights? Life, liberty, property, if you're John Locke. Although if you're Thomas Jefferson, he rewrote it as life, liberty, and... Please tell me you know this. I'm not even going to say it. You should know it. Okay? You're born with the right to live, to be free, and to own yourself and other things. No other person should be allowed to take any of that from you. And you should be allowed to take those things away from other people. And if everybody followed that, we would have zero problems. Except maybe like just death, but like it would be natural, right? All right, number 2. What's the purpose of government? You should know that as well. The purpose of government. Every single government, even if it was a bad government that was just a person taking over and saying, I'm in charge, right? Or ook with a club back in caveman days. That's the government. They were trying to protect somebody's rights. In certain circumstances, it was just they were trying to protect their own rights, so they took the power so they could protect themselves. Sure, they're still trying to protect someone's rights, their own. All right, if the government is a good government, they will protect all the citizens' rights. Every citizen. If the government is a bad government, it will either fail to protect some of the citizens or it will actively take rights away. All right? Either way, that's not a place I want to live. Another mosquito. Number 3, what is social contract? The idea, it's kind of twofold. Number 1, when we meet someone, we automatically... Oh, that's just like a little moth. Get out of here. Not a mosquito. We automatically assume, at least hopefully, most of us do, that that person's not going to kill us or steal our stuff. I mean, there's a couple times where you're like, oh man, those people look shady. Maybe they might rob me. I should not be here by myself or whatever. I don't know. Stop going to those places, man. Take a friend. But when you walk into class on the first day of school in 2021 in 8th grade and you're going to be like, man, I'm really worried that all these people are going to kill me. No, you're not. You just automatically, they might like make fun of you. Everybody's afraid of that. But that's social contract. You assume, we all assume that everybody in Publix is not just going to walk up and punch us. All right? We have this social contract. It's an unspoken agreement between the society, between people. And that the other half of it is, I said it was twofold. Here's the other part. We have an agreement, the citizens have an agreement with the government. We allow the government to have power. Well, we're not just going to give it away for free. Here's what we expect in return, that they do their job. And their job is, that's right, mi amigos, to protect rights. Okay? So the idea is we allow them to have the power, and in return, they agree to use the power for one thing, and that's protecting our rights. And that's it. The people agree to follow any laws that the government makes, because if the government's doing its job and just using its power to protect rights, well, then every law should just be about protecting rights. There should be no bad laws if the government's actually doing its job. So we agree to follow laws because they're good and they protect our rights. But if they break their side of the agreement, we're going to break our side of the agreement. If we break our side of the agreement, they're going to break theirs. Just like a regular contract, okay? The other side has options if one side breaks the agreement. If the people don't follow laws, well, guess what? The government's going to take away your rights. We're going to punish you. And if the government doesn't protect the people's rights, the people are going to take away the power, if we're strong enough to take it back anyway. Or sometimes even if we're not. That's when people fight wars against their own government and stuff. And that's bloody and hard, but people have done it successfully. Like America. We're not the only place that's done that, though. Lots of places are trying to do that now. And some have tried and failed. That's tough. Number 4, how are the two ideas of social contract and purpose of government related? Okay, we'll see my answer to number 3. If the governments are only given power to protect rights and it uses the power for something else, then they break that contract and we are able to break our half of the contract. We will take that power back. We have the ultimate power to get rid of government or change it to make it better. Right? The people have a 4th right. It's the right of life, liberty, pursuit of happiness in the Declaration. Dang, I said it. You were supposed to know it. Anyway, but the number 4, if you keep reading the Declaration, you have the right. It is the right of the people to, starts with A, alter or, that's right. Okay, so we have that 4th right if they are not protecting the other 3. All right, the page 4 questions, 5 through 11. Based on what you learned so far this week, who do you think the founding fathers were? The people that created America. They broke away from England and started America. We wouldn't be here without them. People are always like, no, we'd be British. No, we wouldn't. You and I wouldn't exist. Other people would exist, but not us, right? Because my parents had to meet, and their parents had to meet, and their parents had to meet, and that means history had to work out exactly as it did in order for you and I to exist. That makes you special. You're very special. How does social contract work in personal life? You hope that other people respect your rights, and you usually respect theirs. You also know that breaking laws means punishment, so you don't break laws either. And usually the laws are don't take away other people's rights. Don't murder, don't kill, don't steal, don't endanger other people, don't make people feel afraid. So why do we need a government if most people agree to social contract? Well, remember, there's about 8% of the population that's going to do whatever they want anyway. That's why we need the social contract. That's why we need the government. We can't just have anarchy because we can't trust everybody. We can trust most people. We can't trust everybody. All right? The government exists to protect us from people that aren't going to respect rights. All right? And again, we've never really talked about this on here, but we've talked about it in class. Remember, you don't trust people or distrust people based on what they look like, right? You do it based on how do they act. If you start dating someone and they say they love you, but they treat you horribly, they don't love you. It doesn't matter what they say, right? If you keep telling someone you love them, but you don't take care of them or check on them, like, no, you don't love them. That's not love. Love is not just feelings on a good day, right? Love is how you treat somebody. So, anyway, how do people act? That's how we judge people. How does a government act? That's how we judge the government. Same thing. Governments are just people, just big groups that have power. All right, where does every good government get its power? From the consent of the governed, aka the permission of the people. And they're only supposed to use it for one thing, and you know what that is. Back the video up if you forgot. So where do bad governments get their power? Well, a lot of times they just take it by force. Or the people could have trusted them initially, and then they misused the power. Okay, they started off good, maybe, and then they turned bad. Could be. Or it could be that they have the power, they're just not strong enough to actually use it to protect their rights. They may be trying really hard. But if your job is to protect me, if you're a bodyguard and your job is to protect me, but I keep getting beat up while you're not strong enough to fight on my behalf, you're not a good bodyguard. You could be like the nicest person in the world, but you're a bad bodyguard. You should go find a different job. Okay? Anyway, they may have been a good government at one time, but they either got corrupted or weakened at some point. But the idea really is they keep the power by force. They're stopping the people from taking it back or having a say. That's what makes it a bad government. Number 10. How do John Locke's ideas impact us today? And your answer does not have to be mine. But 400 years ago, and these ideas are still a big deal, all of our laws are based on the idea that all humans have rights. Even the people we don't like. Even the people in other countries that we say are our enemies. They have rights because they're human. How did you get those rights? How did you get your rights? From a piece of paper? No. Because if the piece of paper goes away, do your rights go away? If the rights came from the paper, they would. No, you got your rights when you were born. Every human was born. So if that's the case, every human was born with rights. Like I said, you're special. But so are they, right? All right. Many countries today don't have governments that exist to protect only those rights. So still on number 10. Many governments believe, hey, I got the power, so I matter first. I must be the important one. The big idea here in all of this, and John Locke's ideas, is that the government is not in charge. We do not serve the government, which a lot of people think that that's how it is. Oh, they're in charge. They tell us what to do. We march to their drum. No, they're supposed to be our servants. They work for us. They do the job that we pay them to do. Or they're supposed to. We are the boss. They are the worker. Yes, absolutely. At least that's how it's supposed to be. All right? And if they're not working the way we want them to, at least in America, if enough of us get together, we can change it. We have changed it. Think back to those Supreme Court cases. All right? We always put the focus on one person, Linda Brown from Brown versus Board of Education, but it was multiple families that all worked together. Multiple people that helped pay for the lawyers and the time and all that to get it fixed. Gideon versus Wainwright, same thing, right? All of these Supreme Court cases, it was groups of people that all got together and really pushed to make this stuff happen. And the things like the amendments with the women's voting rights, women's suffrage, y'all, it wasn't just one small group. It was like so many people. If we get on the same page, we can change anything. You got to get together. Okay? Number 11, that text from the Mayflower Compact is the best example that we have in our history of this historical stuff of self-government. All right, that idea that the people should be able to rule themselves and they don't need a king. And look, I even highlighted it for you. The idea that they were going to combine themselves together into a body of politics for our preservation, to keep ourselves safe. All right, so I describe it more in the notes there, but there you go. All right, that's it with the John Locke answers. Let's move on to the Montesquieu answers. I'll explain that stuff. And if you're good, you're good. You can go ahead and go. Unless you just want to hear me talk. Page 7 of the PDF. What do you think the phrase rule of law means? The rule of law is you got to follow them. But the real trick is when we say you have to follow them, who's included? In a bad government, they would say, well, just these people. These people have to follow, but not me, right? That's a bad government. In a good government, even the government follows the law. And that's really how we judge it. Does the government follow its own laws? And do the people have a say? And if that's true, you're living in a good country where things can be accomplished when it comes to protecting people's rights, even the people whose rights don't normally get protected. Again, when we look back at the 1950s and the 60s and the civil rights movement, we say, how did they live like that back then? Why didn't people fix it? Why didn't, well, first off, people were trying. But second, what are people going to say about us 100 years from now? Why did they allow that to happen to that group or whatever? I don't know. There's a lot to think through on that. What will we be judged for in the future since we're judging people from the past? We're going to be the past at some point. You better do a good job. Okay? All right. So the idea of rule of law is in a good government, even the government can be punished for breaking the law. That's our goal here in the United States. Live in a place where even the government can be punished for breaking laws. Hold them accountable. All right? All right, next. What does the phrase limited government mean? Well, first off, something I've been telling you all year, that if people have power over anything. Number one, they want to keep that power. People hate losing power. Power is control. Power is making sure you're safe. That's how it feels. So people want power, and once they get it, they don't want to lose it. And then not only that, they usually were like, man, I wish I had just a little more power. I could really take care of this other problem if I just had a little more power. So they usually want to keep it and get more power. All right, so limited government is the idea of giving the government a balance. They have just enough, they have just the perfect amount of power to do the job of protecting rights, but not too much, because then they'll start taking our rights away and we won't be able to stop them. And not too little, because then they won't be strong enough to take care of us, like the Articles of Confederation. Too weak, that's what we mean. They didn't have enough power. All right? So remember Montesquieu, what Montesquieu said about freedom, about liberty. You only really truly have freedom if you feel safe. If you are in a place where you do not feel safe, you will not feel like you can do whatever you want to do. You will feel like you have to hide or not speak up or something like that. So you are not safe if you don't, you're not truly free if you don't have safety, all right? They won't use their freedom if they don't feel safe, okay? So governments need to be set up in a way that creates an atmosphere of safety so that people can effectively use their freedom or their liberty. If it's too dangerous to go outside, you're not going to go outside. If you feel like you're always going to get attacked or something, you're not leaving your house. Corona. All right. So the idea is this. The same idea of that balancing act of government is buy a guard dog that's vicious enough to protect your home when some stranger breaks in, but make it where the dog's not so vicious that it's going to bite you all the time, or even once. You don't want your guard dog to attack you. And you also don't want your guard dog to be so weak that it lets the bad guys in, or stupid, right? Hey, welcome to my house. Like, that's a bad guard dog. All right, find the balance. And it's hard, and we have to always keep trying, keep judging the government to find that balance. Things will, even once we find the balance, it will get out of balance. We got to put it back. It's like cleaning a room. Yeah, it's clean today. It won't be clean by next week. You're going to have to keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it. Life takes work, y'all. But it's worth it, okay? The homework recap after you do the Montesquieu papers. What is the difference between separation of powers and checks and balances? All right, so here's the short version. First, you got to split the people up split the power up to keep the people safe. You can't let one group have all the power. That's too dangerous. So we split the power up. That's separating the power. Once it's separated, it's going to want to come back together. So you have to have checks and balances to keep it all balanced and separated. All right? So separation of powers is splitting the power up to keep people's rights protected. And then checks and balances is making sure it stays split up. That's the difference, okay? I put a whole reading thing in here. You can read through it. Yeah. I will not do that right now. Number 2, what does James Madison have to do with this lesson? Well, he wrote large parts of the Constitution that we still use today and the Bill of Rights. So he basically took ideas from Montesquieu to write the Article 1, Article 2, Article 3 in the Constitution. And then when he wrote the Bill of Rights, he actually took John Locke's ideas and put a lot of those in the Bill of Rights too. But anyway, the focus is on Montesquieu influencing James Madison when Madison got a chance to write a constitution that we still use right now. Boom. Wouldn't you want to come up with an idea that people are still using 300 years from now? Better be a good idea. What does the government need in order to do its main job? Power. If it has no power, it can't protect you. And if it has no power, if it has too much power, it's going to take your rights away, right? But it can't protect your life if it's not powerful. You just don't want it to be too powerful. You want, again, a government, if you're afraid of someone coming and messing with you, you want to be able to call someone and they come up and protect you. Yeah, if some country comes in to attack, you want them to be able to stop them at the border before they get here. Not wait until they already attacked us. Anyway, if you figured out that power was the answer in number 3, well then what happens if a government gets too much power is the question number 4. What happens if a government doesn't have enough power? All right, it's that balancing act I said again. It's an important balancing act, but here's the thing. We got to keep it balanced, and it requires you to be educated. That's why you took this class. And then after you're educated, y'all, class isn't over. You have to pay attention to what that government is doing. If someone has power, they're going to try to be sneaky if they're trying to take more. They're not going to come out and be like, hey, we're taking more power. I mean, they might. But the ones that really are good at being sneaky, they're just going to like secretly take it. All right. So you got to watch and make sure and question everything. Hey, now why did you pass this law? Why is it worded this way? Why did you send the troops over here? Okay, we need to always be paying attention to that stuff. People always want to keep the power and get more. That's a fact. We see it in our own lives. You want to take more power when you have a little bit. You're like, man, I'm glad that I was able to fix this problem. But man, if I just had more control over this person, then I could fix that problem in my life. If I had more control over what's in the refrigerator, I could not be hungry anymore. Or if I had more control over the money, I could buy what I want at Publix instead of my mom always picking that other thing that I don't like. Man, if I just had a little more power, just a little. Well, that's how people feel even when they're older. Like, that doesn't change. Except it's about different stuff. All right, y'all. That is it. Week 6, week 7, part 1, part 2. It's all done now. Go take the quiz. Do a good job. I miss you. Wish we could do this in class. Yeah. All right. Enough of that. Bye. Bye now.